It's been a while since Chris had been on the bike and she was a little bit nervous. Today's pace was expected to be slower and that was fine. I was more than happy to have a relaxing ride to escape the city. But this would be a lesson in what biting off more than you can chew looks like.
I kept going to myself, how's this road end?
We left home about 30 minutes later than planned, which is not exactly the best way to kick off an ambitious 400-kilometre day ride. After topping up fuel at Round Corner, we're heading north to Wisemans Ferry and then St Albans for breakfast. And then we'll be heading up Wollombi Road to Buckety before continuing north to Wollombi and then on to Broke for some fuel, and then east over to the Hunter Valley to visit my brother at the Oakvale Winery. From there we'll be heading south through the hills of the Hunter and then into the Watagans before heading home.
So remember, if the dirt, the bike's going to move around, that's okay, just let it sort of dance.
I get it.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to do.
The run up to St Albans was easy and relaxing. Chris's bike has these fancy features like traction control.
Sorry, I am slow, but I'm just slow.
That's alright. There's no rush. You build up to your pace. Yeah, don't try to force it. But you also want to be just a tad ahead of your... Yep. I don't know why, but every time I see this view going into St Albans, I always think of what it must have been like, 100 years ago on a horse and cart approaching the town. It just always feels like you're in the wilderness approaching a town. I don't know why, it's a weird thing to say.
I've got a lot to learn.
It's just practice. Seat time.
It's the slow stuff that's hard.
Yeah. Because momentum is easy. So slow is hard.
Breakfast at the pub was great, bacon and eggs, but we spent a little bit longer than planned. Time was already starting to slip and we hadn't even realised it yet.
One of the reasons I go out riding is because of bacon and eggs. 35 k's of dirt section get us up to George Downs Road, and then we'll head north towards Broke via Wollombi. All good? How are ya? Beautiful day for it, isn't it? Absolutely. See you around. How's that?
Yeah, it was good. I'm slow, but it was just, after a while you sort of just, I never got used to it, but you kind of just go, okay.
Yeah.
Are you filming me?
Of course.
I need to stop panicking when a car comes the other way. I don't know why I panic, it's weird, but I just kind of go, oh, and that makes it worse. So you kind of just, I know that I'm way over and I'm out of the way, but I just...
Yeah. But it's also fair, because the cars have come out of nowhere, and I still even go, whoa. Yeah.
Then a proper time suck issue arose as we'd reached the salvation of the sealed roads. Another flat tyre. That's 3 flats in 2 rides, which is not great odds. The culprit though was my fault. The small space-saving tube that I hadn't replaced from the last flat in the Watagans, and I hadn't properly prepared for the friction had inevitably failed. I pumped it up briefly on the side of the road because we were just outside of Wollombi. Then we rolled into the Wollombi Tavern and the gauge showing 9 psi.
Trying to find a spot in the shade. 7 psi.
We fixed the tyre, but now the schedule was utterly blown. We should have been in the Hunter just before midday. When we got back on the road, it was 12:45 p.m. Yeah?
Yeah, enjoyed that.
Nice and cruisy.
I do.
This long trip is motivated by me wanting to go and visit my brother Joel, who's the cellar door manager at Oakvale Winery. It's been far too long since we'd caught up.
On the bus tour, the big like one.
Joel doing his thing.
Oh my gosh, sorry, but it tasted like it had.
No, they played it Kudos Bank.
Joel put out a fantastic cheese platter courtesy of Elliot's at Oakvale, and it was a lovely way to spend the afternoon.
Oh my goodness.
However, time was slipping away and we didn't leave Oakvale until just after 3 p.m. The roads around the Hunter are stunning. They were triggering memories of my first adventure ride, which had cemented the idea of riding in places where most people won't go.
My favourite wineries back there. Must admit, I used to kind of snob the Hunter Valley a little bit. It's because it's very, very commercial compared to your Mudgees and places like that, but it's the same as anywhere, really. It's got the nice spots, you just got to be prepared to get off the beaten track. It's sunburned, maybe some sunscreen on the legs.
I had planned to take Heaton Road into the Watagans, but it is still closed. Not going that way.
I thought Heaton Road had reopened, but clearly not. Alright, we're going to detour.
We had to take a detour and then enter the Watagans via Mount Falk Road, which was rougher than our last visit only weeks ago. Phil? You right?
This was a little more beaten up than it was the other day when we came through. Probably when we came through it was the start of that rain too. Testing Chris nicely. Hopefully she's enjoying herself back there.
Chris had a minor tumble in the car park at the Heaton Lookout. Nothing was damaged except her confidence.
Right.
But with the sun getting low and fatigue setting in, things were getting tough.
Jesus. Car on the right, just watch. This is the problem with the Watagans. You get a lot of people who don't know what they're doing. Young kids in four-wheel drives.
Taking a wrong direction meant a U-turn, and Chris would need to engage a confident gear, but was struggling to find one.
I don't know, I thought it was... When you're going slow, it's hard. So find a spot, go out wide, and then when you're turning, you want to stop pointing uphill, otherwise you can't go backwards. And if you need to do multiple goes at it, then Do you want me to just turn it around for you? I think everyone has these moments where you kind of are doubting what you're doing and thinking, why the hell am I doing this? And you're contemplating how much am I going to get for the bike, but that's just telling you that you're reaching the edge of your adventure.
But we had no choice but to push on and get out of the Watagans. This is now easy stuff for me, but I have to remember the overwhelming feeling of doing this for the first time to try and sync up with Chris's mindset. The road out of the Watagans would have felt endless for her, and it had been a massive day and she was nearing her limits.
Just after 6 p.m, at 10 past 6, we're wandering through the Watagans, and we're about 10 k's away from popping out onto George Downs Road to make a way through Wisemans back to home, which will get us home about 20 past 8. Definitely should have called it earlier. When we weren't making the progress that we needed to make, I should have just called it and just messaged Joel and said, hey, sorry, not going to get there, and started our way back earlier. Another thing was I did kind of keep letting Chris make the decision of, do you want to keep going? And I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have just made that call instead, because she was fine, she was keen until we had a moment, and then now it's exponentially harder because she's dealing with the emotion of that moment, plus feeling tired, it being a long day, and we're still not over it yet. Yeah, she's booked to do Sydney to the Gold Coast later in next year, so we were wanting to do a long day just to kind of get some K's in, but I think in hindsight this was too much too soon. When you've officially met that point where you say, get me the fuck out of here, and when the hell is this going to be over, you have officially become an adventure rider.
Oh, mate.
The planned way, 8:23 it gets us home. The freeway's not that far away. 7:37 it gets us home.
Okay, maybe we do that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm actually wishing I had made the call earlier.
To save time, we took the freeway instead of retracking through Wisemans Ferry. This shaved about an hour off the trip, and we were utterly spent by the time we got home. I'd mapped it out and we knew that it was going to be a 400 kilometre day, and it would be huge. However, it ended up being just shy of 13 hours. Reviewing it in the Motor Rides trip planner, we actually spent about 8 hours riding, but 5 hours and 10 minutes off the bike. The average pace for most sections was okay, and we lost most of our time when we were stopped. I built the ride itinerary planner in motorrides.com.au to help design trips, map realistic travel times, and account for delays and fuel stops. It has also become a valuable tool for updating post-ride and reflecting on where the time went. Adventure riding is about learning. Sometimes that means accepting that you've bitten off more than you can chew.